The Awakening. The vast emptiness of space shattered as the U.S. horizon burst through the wormhole, its hull groaning under the strain of interdimensional travel. Captain Alina Reeves gripped her command chair, her knuckles white as the starship stabilized. "Status report," she barked, her eyes scanning the bridge crew for signs of distress. Lieutenant Commander Takashi Yamamoto, her second-in-command, responded promptly. "All systems operational, Captain. We've successfully traversed the wormhole and emerged in the Andromeda Galaxy." Alina allowed herself a small smile. Humanity's first foray beyond the Milky Way had been a success, but their mission was far from over. "Sensors, what do we have?" she asked, turning to the science station. Dr. Aisha Mbiki, the ship's lead xenorchaeologist, hunched over her console. Her dark eyes widened as data streamed across her screens. "Captain, you're going to want to see this," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. Alina strode to Aisha's station, her heart racing. On the main view screen, a massive structure loomed against the backdrop of an alien star system. It was clearly artificial, a colossal ring-shaped object that dwarfed their ship. "My God," Alina breathed. "What is it?" Aisha's fingers flew over her console. Preliminary scans indicate it's composed of materials unknown to our science. It's putting out energy readings off the charts. "Captain, I believe we've found what we came for, the weapon of the precursors." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had long theorized about the existence of the precursors, an ancient alien race that had seemingly vanished eons ago. If this truly was their legacy, it could change everything. "Take us in closer, Helm," Alina ordered. "But maintain a safe distance. We don't know what that thing is capable of." As the horizon approached the massive structure, alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. Takashi shouted, "Captain, we're detecting multiple ships emerging from FTL." Alina whirled back to her chair. On screen. The view screen shifted, revealing a terrifying sight. A swarm of biomechanical ships, writhing and pulsing like living organisms, poured into the system. At their center was a behemoth that sent chills down Alina's spine, a planet-sized mass of twisting metal and flesh. "Red alert," Alina commanded. "Shields up, weapons online." The bridge erupted into frantic activity as the crew prepared for battle. But Alina knew their lone ship was no match for this armée. A harsh, grating voice filled the communications channels, bypassing their encryption as if it didn't exist. "Insignificant vermin, you dare trespass in our domain. Your primitive minds cannot comprehend the power you have stumbled upon. Surrender the precursor weapon, and your deaths will be swift." Alina's mind raced. Who, or what, were these beings? How did they know about the precursor weapon? She made a split-second decision. "Like hell," she growled. "Helm, plot a course back through the wormhole. We need to warn Earth." As the horizon swung around, preparing to flee, the alien armada opened fire. Energy beams lanced out, battering the ship's shields. "Shields at 60% and falling," Takashi reported. "Divert all power to engines and shields," Alina ordered. "We have to make it back." The ship shuddered as another volley struck home. Warning klaxons blared as systems began to fail. "Captain," Aisha called out, "the precursor structure, it's activating." Alina watched in awe as the massive ring began to spin, arcs of energy crackling along its surface. Suddenly, a beam of pure white light lanced out from the structure, striking the largest of the alien ships. The behemoth writhed in apparent agony, its biomechanical form twisting and warping before it imploded in a spectacular burst of energy. The alien armada fell into disarray, their coordinated attack faltering. Alina saw their chance. "Now's our window. Get us out of here." The horizon surged forward, slipping past the confused alien ships and plunging back into the wormhole. As they re-entered the swirling vortex of interdimensional space, Alina's mind reeled with the implications of what they'd witnessed. They had found the precursor weapon, yes, But they had also discovered a threat beyond anything humanity had ever faced. And now, that threat knew about Earth. As the ship hurtled back towards the Milky Way, Elena steeled herself for what was to come. The fate of humanity now rested on the information they carried and the decisions that would be made in the coming days. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of humanity's greatest challenge, and potentially its finest hour. The horizon burst back into normal space near Earth, battered but intact. Elena wasted no time in contacting United Earth Command, relaying the urgent nature of their discovery and the looming threat. Within hours, she found herself standing before the UEC Security Council, the highest governing body of Earth and its colonies. The chamber was filled with tense silence as Elena concluded her report. Admiral Zhao, the head of Earth's defense forces, was the first to speak. "Captain Reeves, are you certain these beings are hostile? Could this have been a misunderstanding?" Elena shook her head firmly. "No, sir. Their intentions were clear. They want the precursor weapon, and they view us as nothing more than vermin to be exterminated." Dr. Elias Forsyth, the leading expert on theoretical xenotechnology, leaned forward. "This weapon you discovered, you say it was able to destroy one of their largest ships with a single shot?" "Yes, Doctor," Elena confirmed. "Its power was unlike anything we've ever seen." A murmur rippled through the council. President Amelia Cortez raised her hand for silence. "The question now is, what do we do with this information? Captain Reeves, in your opinion, what are our options?" Elena took a deep breath. "Madam President, members of the Council, I believe we have three choices. First, we can attempt to destroy the wormhole, cutting off access to the Andromeda Galaxy. However, given the technological superiority of these aliens, I doubt that would stop them for long." She continued, "Second, we can begin preparing Earth's defenses, but based on what we saw, our current technology would be woefully inadequate." "And the third option?" Admiral Zhao prompted. Elena's eyes blazed with determination. "We go back. We secure that precursor weapon before the aliens can. It's our only chance of standing against them on equal footing." The council chamber erupted into heated debate. Some argued for caution, others for immediate military action. As the arguments raged, Elena noticed Dr. Forsyth scribbling furiously in a notebook, his eyes alight with inspiration. President Cortez finally called for order. "Dr. Forsyth, you've been uncharacteristically quiet. What are your thoughts?" The scientist stood, his lanky frame vibrating with excitement. "Madam President, esteemed colleagues, I believe Captain Reeves is right. But we need to go further. This precursor technology represents an opportunity we cannot ignore. If we can understand it, reverse engineer it, we might be able to create our own versions of these incredible weapons." He turned to Elena. "Captain, you said the alien ships were biomechanical in nature. What if we could combine our own biology with this advanced technology? Create ships that are extensions of their pilots, weapons that respond to thought?" The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Zhao was the first to recover. "You're talking about a complete overhaul of our military technology, our tactics, everything we know about warfare. It would take years." "We don't have years," Elena interjected. "Those aliens will be coming, and soon. We need to act now." President Cortez nodded gravely. "I agree. Captain Reeves, you will lead an expedition back to Andromeda. Your mission is to secure the precursor weapon and gather as much data as possible. Dr. Forsyth, I want you to assemble a team of our brightest minds. Your job is to take whatever Captain Reeves brings back and turn it into something we can use." She turned to Admiral Zhao. "Admiral, begin preparations for Earth's defense. Assume the worst, that we'll be facing an invasion force beyond anything we've ever imagined." As the council session adjourned, Elena felt a mix of dread and determination. They were about to embark on the most crucial mission in human history, with the fate of their entire species hanging in the balance. Dr. Forsyth approached her, his eyes gleaming with scientific fervor. Captain, before you leave, I have some ideas I'd like to discuss. If we're going to merge biology and technology, we'll need to start thinking outside the box. Way outside. Elena nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips despite the gravity of the situation. If there was one thing humans excelled at, it was thinking outside the box. As she followed Dr. Forsyth to his lab, her mind raced with possibilities. The coming days would test humanity like never before. But as she listened to Forsyth's rapid-fire ideas, each more outlandish than the last, Elena felt a spark of hope. They had always been underestimated, overlooked. Perhaps it was time to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of when pushed to the brink. The awakening had begun, and humanity was ready to rise to the challenge. Forging alliances, the U.S. horizon, now reinforced and upgraded with experimental tech, emerged from the wormhole into Andromedan space. Captain Elena Reeves stood on the bridge, her jaw set with determination. The ship was crewed by Earth's finest, soldiers, scientists, and engineers, all united in their mission to save humanity. Status report, Elena commanded, her eyes fixed on the view screen. Lieutenant Commander Takashi Yamamoto responded promptly. All systems nominal, Captain. No sign of hostile activity in the immediate vicinity. Dr. Aisha Mbiki spoke up from her station. Captain, I'm detecting the precursor structure. It's different. Elena frowned. Different how? It's active, Aisha replied, her voice filled with wonder. The energy readings are off the charts. It's as if it's waiting for us. Before Elena could respond, a new voice crackled over the comm system. Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. State your intentions or be destroyed. The bridge crew tensed, hands hovering over weapon controls. But the voice wasn't the harsh, grating sound of the biomechanical aliens they'd encountered before. This was different, musical, almost ethereal. Elena made a split-second decision. This is Captain Elena Reeves of the Earth Ship Horizon. We come seeking allies against a common enemy. There was a moment of tense silence before the voice responded. Approach coordinates 227 Mark IV. Any deviation will be considered hostile action. As the horizon moved towards the designated location, a massive ship shimmered into view, its hull seemingly made of crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light. My God, Takashi whispered. It's beautiful. The alien ship dwarfed the horizon, its design so advanced it bordered on the organic. A beam of light enveloped their vessel, and Elena felt a strange tingling sensation. We're being scanned, Aisha reported. And, Captain, they're requesting your presence. Alone. Elena stood, straightening her uniform. Patch me through to Earth Command. Let them know what's happening. If I'm not back in an hour, get our people to that precursor weapon at all costs. Moments later, Elena found herself standing in a vast chamber aboard the alien vessel. The walls shimmered with colors she couldn't name, and the air itself seemed alive with energy. A figure stepped forward, tall, slender, with skin that looked like polished opal. Its eyes, deep pools of swirling galaxies, regarded Elena with curiosity. I am Jarrell, the being said, its voice resonating in Elena's mind rather than her ears. You speak of a common enemy. Explain. Elena took a deep breath and recounted their encounter with the biomechanical aliens, the threat they posed, and humanity's desperate plan to use the precursor weapon. Jarrell listened intently, its expression unreadable. When Elena finished, the alien was silent for a long moment. The beings you encountered are known to us, Jarrell finally said. We call them the Void Collective. They are a scourge that has plagued this galaxy for millennia, consuming all in their path. Elena's heart sank. Then you fought them before. Without success. Jarrell's form shimmered, a gesture Elena interpreted as frustration. We are the Lumini. Our technology is vastly superior to yours, yet even we have only managed to hold the Void at bay. But perhaps, the alien's eyes focused on Elena with new intensity. Perhaps what we lack is your species' unique, Perspective. What do you mean? Elena asked, a glimmer of hope rising in her chest. Your plan to merge biology and technology. It is audacious, borderline insane by our standards. Yet it holds a certain elegance. The Void Collective's strength lies in their unity of flesh and machine. To defeat them, one must understand them. Jarrell moved closer, its form towering over Elena. We propose an alliance, Captain Reeves. We will share our knowledge of the precursor technologies and aid in your defense. In return, we ask that you share the fruits of your research. Together, we may find a way to end the Void threat once and for all. Elena's mind raced. An alliance with an advanced alien race could be the key to humanity's survival. But could they be trusted? As if reading her thoughts, Jarrell spoke again. Trust does not come easily between species so different. But necessity forges the strongest bonds. We face extinction separately or survival together. Elena straightened, meeting the alien's gaze. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I accept your offer of alliance. Jarrell's form glowed brighter. Then let us begin. Time is short, and the void grows ever closer. Over the next few weeks, the horizon became a hub of frenetic activity. Luminae scientists worked alongside human researchers, sharing knowledge and pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. Dr. Forsyth, who had accompanied the mission, was in his element. His wild ideas, once dismissed as fantasy, were now being brought to life with Luminae assistance. It's incredible, he exclaimed to Elena one day, his eyes wild with excitement. We're not just merging biology and technology. We're creating an entirely new form of existence. Elena watched as a human volunteer stepped into a chamber filled with swirling nanites and Luminae energy fields. When he emerged, his body rippled with new abilities. Enhanced strength, built-in energy weapons, and a neural interface that linked directly to the ship's systems. Is it safe? Elena asked, concern etching her features. Forsyth nodded enthusiastically. Safer than our original designs, thanks to the Luminae. These augmentations can be reversed if needed, but more importantly, they give us a fighting chance against the Void Collective. As the days passed, more volunteers underwent the process. The horizon itself was being transformed. It's all now a living, breathing entity that could heal damage and adapt to enemy attacks. But their progress didn't go unnoticed. As Elena stood on the bridge one day, alarms blared to life. Multiple void ships detected. Takashi shouted, "They've found us." Elena's hand tightened on her chair. This was it, the moment of truth. Would their hard work and newfound alliance be enough? Battle stations, she commanded, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. It's time to show the Void what humanity and the Luminae can do together. As the enemy ships approached, Elena felt a strange calm settle over her. Whatever happened next would determine the fate of not just Earth, but perhaps the entire galaxy. The final test of their forged alliance was about to begin. The first strike. The void of space erupted into a dazzling display of energy as the Void-collected ships engaged the combined human-Luminae force. The U.S. horizon, now a hybrid of Earth technology and alien enhancement, moved with uncanny grace, its living hull absorbing and adapting to each attack. Captain Elena Reeves stood at the center of the bridge, her body humming with the newfound connection to her ship. Around her, the crew worked in perfect synchronization, their augmented minds linked in a neural network that allowed for split-second decision-making. Evasive pattern delta, Elena called out, her thoughts translating into action before the words left her mouth. The horizon rolled and pivoted, narrowly avoiding a barrage of biomechanical projectiles from the nearest void ship. Beside the horizon, the Luminae vessel Starfire danced through the battle, its crystalline structure refracting enemy fire and returning it tenfold. Jarrell's voice echoed in Elena's mind through their psychic link. "Captain, we must push towards the precursor weapon. It's our only hope of turning the tide." Elena nodded, knowing Jarrell would sense her agreement. "Agreed. Takashi, plot us a course." Dr. Forsyth, how close are we to activating the weapon? Dr. Forsyth's voice came through the ship's internal comm, tinged with excitement despite the chaos around them. We're close, Captain. The Luminae data was the key. We need to get within 500 kilometers of the structure to initiate the activation sequence. You heard the man, Elena said to her crew. Let's punch a hole through their lines. All power to forward shields and weapons. The horizon surged forward, its newly integrated weapon systems coming to life. Beams of coherent light, infused with Luminae energy, lanced out from the ship's hull, carving through the biomechanical armor of the void ships as if it were paper. But the enemy was relentless. For every ship they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. The Void Collective's hive mind adapted quickly, changing tactics to counter the human Luminae Alliance's advantages. Captain, Aisha called out from her station. I'm detecting a massive energy buildup from the largest void ship. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Elena's blood ran cold as she saw the readings. The enemy flagship, a grotesque fusion of flesh and metal the size of a small moon, was charging what could only be described as a planet-killer weapon. They're targeting the precursor structure. Jarrell's voice rang out, filled with alarm. If they destroy it, all hope is lost. Time seemed to slow for Elena as she weighed their options. They were still too far from the weapon to activate it, and their current firepower wasn't enough to stop the Void flagship. In that moment of crisis, an idea formed in Elena's mind. Crazy, reckless, and possibly suicidal, but potentially their only chance. Dr. Forsyth, she called out, the augmentations you gave us, can they be pushed beyond their current limits? There was a pause before Forsyth replied, his voice hesitant. Theoretically, yes, but the strain on the human body would be extreme, possibly fatal. Elena took a deep breath, unwilling to take that risk. Boost my augmentations to maximum. I'm going EVA. The bridge erupted in protests, but Elena silenced them with a raised hand. This isn't up for debate. Prepare a shuttle and get me as close to that flagship as you can. Minutes later, Elena found herself in a small craft, streaking towards the massive void ship. Her body burned with energy as Forsyth remotely pushed her augmentations to their limits. She could feel her cells changing, adapting, becoming something more than human. As she neared the flagship, Elena triggered the final stage of her transformation. Her body began to glow, electrons and protons separating as she became a being of pure energy. With a thought, she propelled herself out of the shuttle and directly into the hull of the void ship. She felt no resistance as she passed through layers of biomechanical armor, her consciousness expanding to encompass the vast network of the enemy vessel. Elena found herself in a psychic battle with the Void Collective's hive mind. Alien thoughts assaulted her, trying to subsume her identity into their own. But Elena fought back, her human individuality becoming her greatest weapon. As she struggled, Elena became aware of other presences joining her, the minds of her crew, of Jarrell and the Luminae, all lending her their strength. United in purpose, they pushed back against the void consciousness. With a final, Herculean effort, Elena seized control of the flagship systems. She redirected the planet-killer weapon, aiming it not at the precursor structure, but at the heart of the Void fleet. The resulting explosion was beyond anything Elena had ever witnessed. The flagship disintegrated, taking a significant portion of the Void armada with it. The remaining enemy ships, suddenly cut off from their central intelligence, fell into disarray. As the energy of the blast faded, Elena felt herself being pulled back together, her consciousness returning to a physical form. She opened her eyes to find herself on the horizon's bridge, surrounded by her awestruck crew. Takashi was the first to speak. Captain, what you did, it was impossible. Dr. Forsyth finished, his eyes wide with wonder. You've evolved beyond anything we thought possible. The implications for our research are staggering. But Elena's focus was elsewhere. The precursor weapon. Did we reach it in time? Aisha nodded. a smile breaking across her face. "Yes, Captain. It's powering up as we speak. The remaining void ships are retreating." A wave of relief washed over Alina, but it was short-lived. She knew this was only the beginning. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. As the adrenaline of combat faded, Alina felt the weight of her transformation. She had touched something profound out there, glimpsed potentials she never knew existed, but at what cost? Looking out at the starfield, now littered with the debris of battle, Alina steeled herself for what was to come. They had struck the first blow, shown that the Void Collective could be beaten. Now they needed to press their advantage. "Set a course for Earth," she commanded. "It's time we took this fight to them." As the horizon prepared to jump, Alina caught her reflection in a nearby console. For a moment, she saw not just herself, but the vast potential of humanity stretching out before her. They had taken their first steps into a larger universe, and there was no turning back. The first strike had been landed. The real war was about to begin. Turning the tide. The U.S. horizon materialized in Earth's orbit, its hull shimmering with the aftereffects of FTL travel. Captain Alina Reeves stood on the bridge, her newly evolved form still adjusting to the lingering sensations of her transformation. The crew worked silently, each processing the monumental events they had just experienced. As they approached the planet, Alina's enhanced senses picked up a flurry of activity. Earth's defenses had been significantly bolstered in their absence. A constellation of orbital platforms and newly constructed ships formed a protective net around the planet. "Captain," Takashi called out, his voice tinged with awe. "You need to see this." The main view screen flickered to life, showing a bird's-eye view of Earth's surface. Alina's breath caught in her throat. Massive structures dotted the landscape, towering spires that pulsed with energy, reminiscent of the precursor technology they had encountered. "Dr. Forsyth," Alina calmed the science lab. "Are you seeing this?" The scientist's voice came through, brimming with excitement. "Indeed, Captain. It seems our transmission of lumini and precursor data has been put to good use. Earth has been busy while we were away." A new voice cut in. Admiral Zhao, his holographic form materializing on the bridge. "Welcome back, Captain Reeves. I see our surprise has left you speechless." Alina straightened, offering a crisp salute. "Admiral, I must say, I'm impressed with what you've accomplished in such a short time." Zhao's expression turned grave. "We had no choice but to accelerate our plans. The Void Collective has been probing our defenses, testing our resolve. Your victory in Andromeda bought us precious time, but we fear a full-scale invasion is imminent." As if on cue, alarms blared across the horizon's bridge. Aisha's fingers flew across her console. Multiple spatial anomalies detected. Void ships incoming. Alina's mind raced, processing information at superhuman speeds. "How many?" Aisha's voice faltered. "Thousands, Captain. It's an invasion fleet." The bridge fell silent as the magnitude of the threat sank in. Then Alina felt a familiar presence touch her mind. Jor-El, communicating across the vast distance between galaxies. The Lumini stand with Earth. The aliens' thoughts resonated in Alina's consciousness. "Our fleet is en route. Hold the line, Captain Reeves." Alina's resolve hardened. She turned to her crew, her eyes blazing with determination. "This is the moment we've prepared for. Humanity stands on the brink, not just of destruction, but of transcendence. We have the technology, the allies, and the will to fight. It's time to show the Void Collective what we're truly capable of." As she spoke, Alina felt a surge of energy coursed through her. Her transformation in Andromeda had unlocked potentials she was only beginning to understand. Now, facing humanity's greatest threat, she knew it was time to push those boundaries even further. "Dr. Forsyth," she called out, "remember that crazy idea you had about creating a psychic network to link our entire defense force?" "The neural nexus," Forsyth replied, surprise evident in his voice. "But Captain, it's purely theoretical. The energy requirements alone would be. We have the energy. Alina cut him off. The precursor structures on Earth, they're not just defensive weapons. They're conduits tapping into the planet's core. If we can link them to our augmented crews. Understanding dawned on Forsyth's face. A planet-wide battle network, with you as the nexus. It's brilliant, but the strain on your mind would be enormous. Alina's lips curved into a determined smile. Then it's a good thing I've had some practice, isn't it? Over the next few hours, as the Void Fleet approached, Alina's plan was put into motion. The horizon became the focal point of an unprecedented melding of human, lumini, and precursor technologies. Alina stood at the center of it all, her consciousness expanding to encompass not just her ship, but the entire defense network. Through her, every captain, pilot, and gunner on Earth and in orbit became part of a single unified force. As the first wave of void ships entered the solar system, they were met with a defense that moved with impossible coordination and precision. Weapons fire from Earth's surface synchronized perfectly with orbital strikes. Fighter squadrons danced between enemy ships in intricate patterns, exploiting weaknesses faster than the Void Collective could adapt. But the enemy's numbers were overwhelming. For every Void ship destroyed, more poured through the spatial rifts. Alina felt the strain of maintaining the neural nexus, her mind stretched to its limits as she processed the ebb and flow of the battle. Just when it seemed the defense might buckle, a new fleet of ships burst into existence at the edge of the solar system. The Lumini had arrived. Their advanced vessels immediately joined the fray, their crystalline weapons carving swaths through the Void Armada. The battle raged for hours, the void of space lit by the constant flare of weapons fire and dying ships. Through it all, Alina held the neural nexus together, her evolved consciousness, the linchpin of humanity's defense. As the conflict reached its peak, Alina became aware of a massive void ship at the heart of the enemy fleet, larger than any they had encountered before. She realized with a start that this was the true hive mind of the collective, the central intelligence directing the invasion. In that moment, Alina knew what had to be done. Gathering every ounce of her strength, she projected her consciousness across space, directly into the core of the Void command ship. The psychic battle that followed was beyond anything she had experienced. The alien hive mind was vast, ancient, and utterly alien. It sought to consume her, to add her uniqueness to its own. But Alina fought back with everything she had, not just her own will, but the combined strength and determination of every human linked to the neural nexus. In her mind's eye, she saw flashes of Earth's history, triumphs and tragedies, moments of incredible bravery and devastating loss. She felt the hopes and fears of billions, all focused through her like a lens. With a final, monumental effort, Alina shattered the Void hive mind. The psychic backlash rippled through the enemy fleet, leaving their ships drifting and unresponsive. As Alina's consciousness snapped back to her body, she opened her eyes to see her crew staring at her in awe. On the view screen, the remnants of the Void fleet were in full retreat, hounded by Earth and Lumini ships. We did it," Takashi whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. Alina nodded, feeling the weight of her actions settling over her. They had turned the tide, pushed back the greatest threat humanity had ever faced. But she knew this was just the beginning. As the cheers of victory echoed across the neural nexus, Alina's thoughts turned to the future. They had unlocked incredible potential within themselves, forged alliances with advanced alien races, and taken their first real steps into the galactic community. The Void Collective was defeated for now, but there would be other challenges, other threats. Humanity's journey was just beginning, and Alina knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, united, evolved, and unafraid. As the horizon moved to join the cleanup efforts, Alina allowed herself a small smile. They had not just survived. They had thrived, and the universe would never be the same. The final stand. In the months following the Battle of Earth, humanity experienced a period of unprecedented growth and transformation. The integration of Lumini and precursor technologies, combined with the evolutionary leap triggered by the neural nexus, had catapulted Earth's civilization into a new era. Captain Elena Reeves, now Admiral Reeves, stood aboard the newly christened ESS Phoenix, Earth's first true interstellar flagship. The ship was a marvel of hybrid technology, its systems a perfect blend of human ingenuity, Lumini crystal tech, and reverse-engineered precursor innovations. Status report. Elena commanded, her enhanced mind seamlessly interfacing with the ship's eye. Dr. Forsyth, now her chief science officer, responded promptly. The Void Tracker is online, Admiral. We're picking up residual energy signatures from their retreat. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the galaxy. Glowing red lines traced the Void Collective's path back to their home system. It's time we take the fight to them, she said, her voice resolute. We can't risk them regrouping and launching another assault. The bridge crew murmured in agreement. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing full well it might be a one-way trip, but the stakes were too high to ignore. As the Phoenix prepared to jump, a familiar presence touched Elena's mind. Jarrell's telepathic voice resonated with a mix of admiration and concern. You do not have to do this alone, Admiral. The Lumini fleet stands ready to assist. Elena smiled, grateful for the alien's unwavering support. Thank you, old friend. But this is something we need to do ourselves. Humanity must prove it can stand on its own in this galaxy. With a thought, Elena activated the ship's experimental precursor drive. Space warped around them, and in an instant, they were hurtling across the galaxy towards the heart of Void territory. The journey took weeks, even with their advanced propulsion. As they traveled, Elena and her crew trained relentlessly, pushing their evolved abilities to new limits. They knew that facing the Void Collective on their home turf would be their greatest challenge yet. Finally, they arrived at the edge of void space. The Phoenix dropped out of FTL, its sensors immediately overwhelmed by the alien environment. The very fabric of space seemed different here, warped and twisted by the Collective's presence. My God, Takashi whispered, staring at the main view screen. Before them loomed a massive structure, dwarfing even the precursor weapon they had encountered in Andromeda. It pulsed with dark energy, tendrils of biomechanical matter reaching out into space. That's it, Elena said, her voice tight. The Void Nexus, the source of their hive mind. As they approached, alarms blared across the ship. Void vessels emerged from hidden spatial pockets, quickly surrounding the Phoenix. But these ships were different, more organic, more alien than anything they had faced before. They've evolved too, Dr. Forsyth noted, his voice a mix of scientific fascination and dread. They've adapted to our tactics from the Battle of Earth. Elena's mind raced, formulating strategies and discarding them just as quickly. She realized that conventional warfare wouldn't work here. They needed something unexpected, something the Void couldn't anticipate. That's when an idea struck her, crazy, dangerous, but potentially game-changing. Dr. Forsyth, she called out, remember how we used the neural nexus to link Earth's defenses? What if we could do the opposite here? Forsyth's eyes widened as he grasped her plan. Use our evolved abilities to disrupt their hive mind. It's possible, but the psychic backlash could be devastating. Elena nodded grimly. It's a risk we'll have to take. Prepare the crew. We're going in. The Phoenix surged forward, its advanced shields barely holding against the onslaught of void weapons. As they neared the Nexus, Elena reached out with her mind, connecting with her crew. Together, they formed a psychic battering ram, aimed at the heart of the Void Collective. The mental battle that followed was beyond anything they had experienced. The Void hive mind was vast, ancient, and utterly alien. It sought to consume them, to add their uniqueness to its own. But humanity fought back with everything they had, not just with power, but with the very things that made them human. Emotions, memories, hopes, and dreams became weapons in this psychic war. Elena found herself at the center of the maelstrom, her evolved consciousness barely holding together under the strain. She saw flashes of the void's history, a species consumed by fear of extinction, turning to extreme measures for survival. For a moment, she felt a pang of empathy for their plight, but she also saw the destruction they had wrought, the civilizations they had consumed in their relentless expansion. This had to end. With a final, monumental effort, Elena and her crew pushed through the void's defenses. They reached the core of the hive mind, and with surgical precision, they severed the connections that held it together. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The void ships around them went dark, their biomechanical components withering without the guiding intelligence. The nexus itself began to collapse, its energy turning in on itself. "We've done it," Takashi said, his voice weak from the psychic exertion. "But how do we get out?" Elena looked at her crew, saw the exhaustion and fear in their eyes. They had given everything for this mission, and now it seemed they might pay the ultimate price. But Elena wasn't ready to give up. She reached out once more with her mind, not to attack, but to connect. She touched the dying consciousness of the Void Collective, offering not destruction, but understanding. In that moment of contact, something extraordinary happened. The Void, faced with its own mortality, chose to evolve. It shed its destructive purpose and merged with the human psychic network, creating something entirely new. Energy surged through the Phoenix, repairing damage and supercharging its systems. The ship rocketed away from the collapsing nexus, riding a wave of transformed void energy. As they emerged from void space, Elena and her crew found themselves forever changed. They had not just defeated an enemy, they had transcended the very notions of conflict and separation. The Phoenix returned to Earth as heroes, bearing not just victory, but a new understanding of life and consciousness. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not through conquest, but through growth, adaptation, and the uniquely human ability to empathize even with the most alien of minds. As Elena stood on the bridge, looking out at the galaxy that now lay open before them, she knew that this was not an end, but a beginning. Humanity's greatest adventure was just starting, and she couldn't wait to see where it would lead. The final stand against the void had become the first step towards a new era of cosmic exploration and understanding. And Elena Reeves, once a simple starship captain, now stood at the forefront of humanity's journey into a vast and wondrous future.